Hello everyone, welcome to Kinetic Chaos Podcast number 36. We are going live on Facebook Live as we speak. Hope everyone enjoys the show. We are going to hit record in just 1 second. Today's show is presented by Patriot Towing. I'll have a live read for it in just a second when we hit record on the podcast. And anything else we want to say to the Facebook Live folks besides hello and thanks for watching?
Hello and thanks. Yeah, that's about it.
Hello and thank you. I'm going to bring up the feed here real quick so that I can watch it. Are you on yours or you're on Kinetic's?
I hope
Here we are live. Okay, I'm
Pretty
watching
sure.
this. Okay, sounds good. Are you ready?
Nope. You need to mute it.
Oh yeah. Sure.
Technical difficulties.
No, just me. What up, Wes? Okay, here we go. We got everything locked and loaded. You ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Kinetic Chaos Podcast number 36. I am your host, Will, sitting next to my good friend Wes, as always.
How's it going?
It is going wonderful. Why? Because we are not sweating as we speak.
Yeah.
I'm very happy about that. I know you're probably happier about it than I am.
Yeah, it's like having a built-in air conditioner out here. It's a little cooler.
Yeah, exactly.
A cool breeze.
I'm typically not a fan of the cool weather, but I think I've fully acclimated. I'm actually still warm from yesterday, and that's what's carrying me through today. Because I am out here in short sleeves, so that is saying a little bit of something. Well, let's jump into something that good happened to us since the last time we recorded on Monday. As you can tell, we are back to 2 podcasts per week, which is a ton of fun for Wes and myself, and we have some fun stuff to announce a little bit later on. But what good happened to you since the last podcast?
Well, then off the top, we'll talk about our promo real quick. We're doing a promo on Facebook. If you like and follow our page as well as share it, once we get to 300 followers, we are going to send some lucky follower a free t-shirt.
And maybe even more than one lucky follower.
Yeah, we could get crazy. Yep.
Yes, indeed.
So check us out on Facebook at Kinetic Chaos Productions and like and follow our page and share it on to the rest of the public, and let's get those numbers up.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I am remiss if I do not mention our title sponsor tonight. We do want to let you guys know that we are presented to you by Patriot Towing. You can find Patriot Towing by phone at 360-726-8352 or go to the wonderful interwebs and find them at patriottowingllc.com. I want to thank them for their support of us. Something good that happened to me, or you haven't said your good thing yet, have you?
No, have not.
Go ahead.
Good thing for me was that my wife and I celebrated our 9th anniversary
very nice.
a couple days ago. So, yep, the big 10 next year.
That is going to be a lot of fun.
The first big milestone.
Yes, indeed. First of many.
Oh, yeah.
You have big plans for that, don't you?
Vegas.
That is going to be nice.
It's been 7 years since we'd been there last.
Really?
Come next summer. So 7 years is way too long to go without Vegas.
I can agree with that. Although, as I've gotten older, I realize that Vegas is it's not a once-a-year thing. I don't think. Maybe it's in once every 2 or 3. It's actually been since, I believe, 2014 since I've been there. So we are anxious to get back, and I believe we're going to try to get back there later on this year. So
nice. We'll
see how that goes, but we tentatively we do have that plan. So something good that happened to me since the last podcast is that I actually just picked up my my truck. Very excited to have my diesel back. Love my Chevy, but I've got to say my allegiance is with the Ford F-350. So I'm very excited to have that back and be back sitting above everyone else. And I love the view. That is my favorite part about driving a big truck, is being able to see over everyone and see everything that's out there. So without further ado, let's get into a good news story. And this one is a pretty cool story. It's a police officer that he helped a homeless man get an ID. He helped him get shaved, get cleaned up, got an ID so that he could get a job.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
This is awesome. This is in Tallahassee, Florida. This would be Officer Carlson. They did not give his first name, but Officer Carlson was just on routine patrol, and he noticed a guy in the parking lot of the AMPM kind of standing off around the corner on the side of the building, shaving.
Really?
And he thought that was kind of weird to see a dude standing out in the middle of the parking lot shaving, so he swung in there to see what was going on. And the guy explained it to him and said that I went to apply for McDonald's, and they said that they would seriously consider me, but I needed to clean up first. I needed, so he went inside and bought himself a little Bic razor in the AM/PM and was trying to shave. But without a mirror, he was having trouble seeing if he missed spots or whatever. So the officer actually took the razor from him and shaved the guy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so then there's pictures online. Some passersby were snapping pictures. It was the cop was actually helping the guy literally shave.
That's awesome.
And then the guy mentioned that he didn't have a valid ID, and he would obviously need one for employment.
Yeah.
So the cop, I think, drove him down. I don't know if they hooked up later on, but basically the cop helped him fill out all the paperwork to get his ID.
Really?
And then turns out he was hired at McDonald's. He had applied at McDonald's, and he got the job.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
That's again, we focus on these good news stories because we want to see this type of thing happening, and that's another great example of somebody going out of their way that didn't have to, that could have just passed on by,
Yep.
but he helped this guy, and he's getting back on his feet, hopefully, and
Yep.
and going to continue to further or build a career from that,
Right.
one way or another. So that's great. Well, as we I'm not going to say jump into.
Ooh, close call.
As we move into the hot sheet, we've this one's been on the top of the news around here in the greater Portland metropolitan area, and that's that the Portland police have decided to refuse help to the ICE agents during all these demonstrations. See, demonstrations in Portland are kind of like weather. They happen every day,
Yeah.
regardless of what's going on.
And they kind of move beyond demonstrations really quickly, too.
Oh, into...
riots and garbage, yeah.
Exactly.
So what this is that the ICE workers are accusing the Portland police of ignoring their calls to 911 for help. Like some of these ICE agents, after they got done at the office for the day, trying to leave, all these protesters were blocking them from getting in their cars and just very much intimidating and threatening them. And so they called the cops saying, "Hey, I can't get to my car." And the cops wouldn't respond. And so there's some backstory to this, and the theory that it was the mayor telling the cops to stand down. Because because the mayor is definitely on the side of the protesters. And he's on the side of, because he's obviously left-leaning, like the protesters are. So there's a lot of thought now that the orders were coming from up high. The mayor telling the cops, if somebody calls from the ICE building, don't go there.
So now they're going to put another law enforcement agency's personnel in basically where they need help and they're not going to get it.
Right.
That's we don't want to see that. And regardless of whatever their position is on the demonstration, I thought that their job was to serve and protect.
Exactly right.
Regardless of who that is.
Exactly.
And regardless of what Portland has come out and said that they are a sanctuary city and they're not going to change that. Well, that's fine, but that doesn't mean that their police can't help support people that. It doesn't matter if they're part of another law enforcement agency or they're a citizen. They're there to help others.
Right.
And it's not like if the Army called in the Air Force would say, "Well, no, we don't feel like it today because we don't like what you're doing." They have orders.
Right.
And they need to follow those, is what I was under the impression that they were.
Certainly.
Their job was. So,
Yep.
Well, that's probably going to be one that is going to blow up here in the next, I don't know, probably month, 2 months, 5 years, 20 years, because Portland doesn't seem like they're going to change their ways anytime soon, and I'm sure ICE isn't going to change their ways either. So we've got a plane crash in Mexico, and this one was not a good one. So this one happened yesterday, am I right?
But it was good because there were no fatalities, which is incredible. And luckily, the reason for the 0 fatalities is that it crashed basically as soon as it took off, so they didn't have much elevation to it. But it took off in heavy thunderstorms and got hit with a big wind shear, like a crosswind, basically knocking it out of the sky as soon as it got off the ground. There were 103 people on board, and all of them survived. So that's a major feat there. That
is amazing, considering that the wings have all the fuel and they're not that high off the ground if it's crashing.
Yep. And the thing caught fire. The whole thing was
really?
a big charred mess. So, evidently it was slow enough burning that people were able to bail out before it got engulfed.
Wow! It was a land landing though.
It wasn't in the water. Yeah, it was on land.
That's good, because usually the water ones are the ones that can be dangerous. Even though the planes will float for some time,
right.
It's getting people off as fast as possible sometimes can lead to Well, not everyone making it out of there, so
Yeah.
we're very thankful that everyone did make it out of there. Well, next we're going to go to see our friends in the north in Ontario, Canada, and they're going to end an experiment that was probably destined to fail from the beginning. Am I right?
And this is an experiment that we actually referenced here domestically, either last podcast or the one before, about Stockton, California doing a universal basic income and Chicago wanting to try it out. Well, turns out Ontario, Canada had been doing it, and they just called an end to it. The Minister of Social Services, her name's Lisa McLeod, announced at a press conference saying that the project was too expensive. Go figure.
Shocking.
Who knew?
Handing money out, handing $100 bills out to everyone isn't going to be profitable.
So they started this pilot program back in April of 2017. So it's been going for a little over a year, and it was supposed to run for 3 years. And so they killed it after 1 year, basically. It was 4,000 people that were on this program.
Really?
4,000.
Wow.
A single person got 17,000. I know what the income requirements were to begin with. The basis income was to get into this program. But a single person would get $17,000 per year minus half of their income. So let's say they made $10,000 a year, half of that's 5,000, so that 5,000 would come off the 17,000, so they'd get 12,000.
So they get $1,000 a month, basically.
Right, exactly. So 17,000 a year minus 50% of their personal income for individuals, and families were getting 24K a year minus that 50% of their personal income.
Now, what if they didn't make any income?
I think you got the full deal.
17.
Yep.
So $34,000 for a family of two.
24 for a
24,
family.
that's what
yeah,
you said.
yeah.
Sorry, I missed it.
That's okay. And now, as you would expect, now that they've canceled this program, kind of pulled the rug out from underneath everybody, there's all sorts of hubbub up there. All the people are now ticked off because now they just lost all this free money. And they interviewed one person that was really upset and said, well, that they had been planning, they had basically budgeted and planned this in, that they were going to get this free money for 3 years, and now what are they supposed to do?
Right.
Am I really? Seriously?
That's like, oh my God, that's like winning that lottery thing. What is it, $1,000 a week for life?
Yep.
I know it's not quite that much, and then being pissed off that they pulled the rug out from under you. But with the lottery, that is a guaranteed, and you would think that they would actually pay it. But this is kind of like hitting the lottery as well.
Yeah.
And so how does it work with taxes, though? Are they taxed?
I don't know if it didn't say if it's tax-free money or not. I'm not sure how that works.
$17,000 in Canada after taxes is basically like making $34,000 a year for a single person, because their taxes are so high up there to pay for all the rest of their social programs that, I mean, maybe it's even higher than that. I mean, I know that their taxes are incredibly high. So, and I'm sure it depends on each province, but I don't know that. I don't know. We'll see how it ends up in Stockton and Chicago. I can imagine Chicago is going to be a complete dumpster fire.
Yeah, well, and Stockton too, because they're the city that's already declared bankruptcy once, and now they've come out of bankruptcy, and now they want to hand out a bunch of free money. Yeah. So how's that going to square up? But it's
never going to square up.
So it's got disaster written all over it here.
It's going to be kind of like a small size of what's going on in Paris. You're going to have a whole bunch of people streaming towards those cities looking for the free money.
Absolutely.
That's what I can see happening from here on out. That's never a recipe for success, in my opinion. Bringing more people towards you to get free money.
Stuff.
So
yep.
I wonder if there's any kind of, and I know we probably don't know, but if there is some kind of residency requirement,
I would think
like
there's. I would hope. Well, who knows? I mean, it's not like it's a good thing no matter what. But I would think they would try to cover themselves at least a little bit by making sure you were a resident of the city.
Yeah, it's kind of like up in Alaska, because in Alaska they have the permanent fund that it varies based on the price of oil, and it goes anywhere from $1,000 to $3,500. But I actually just heard a little while ago from somebody that has a relative up there that they cut about half of the permanent fund because of social programs and things like that. So we'll keep an eye on this and see how it ends up. But I'm going to say I'm going to give it probably a 2% chance of being successful in any.
That's pretty generous.
Yeah, probably super generous. So. Well, as we move on to number 4 here, this has been a really big hot topic that is kind of flying under the radar a little bit. It did kind of poke its head out yesterday, but and that's this 3D gun printing and the judge basically blocking it from being released. And I don't know how I quite feel about it yet, but go ahead and tell us.
Yeah, so this is a guy that had the rights to a bunch of blueprints to be able to make guns on a 3D printer, and he was going to release them online for the public. And a federal judge in Seattle, put a stop to that and blocked it. And there's a whole side tangent that's now developed from that, and it's our usual favorite thing of the sensationalized headlines and all the garbage and people not wanting to read beyond the headlines, and that's always drives me nuts. But the media just likes to run with that headline of, oh, they're putting out free plans, you can make your own gun at home, but they don't tell you the details behind that. It's not as easy as it sounds.
Not at all.
So I just want to dispel all the popular memes that the left likes to run online and tries to induce hysteria. There's 3 major issues with just running with that headline. The first is that these plastic polymer guns that would be manufactured on a 3D printer, those are already illegal under federal law. Mm-hmm. You can't have a plastic gun. So the argument that, you know, the left would like to ban, you know, semi-auto rifles or whatever, if bans work, you want to ban the semi-auto rifles because bans work, then we already have banned these plastic guns, so you shouldn't have nothing to worry about. So why are you freaked out? Bans always work, right? So they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot, no pun intended, with that argument. Number 2,
bad joke.
Yeah. Number 2 is that the cheapest 3D printer that is capable, because you can get like little rinky-dink 3D printers to make like little models and stuff like that, but the cheapest 3D printer that is capable of making a complex piece like a gun on a 3D printer is $8,000 for the printer. So the average Joe on the street you can go buy a gun for way cheaper than $8,000. So why would you bother to spend $8,000 on a printer? And this leads me into the third point that nobody ever wants to talk about, is that a plastic gun is not durable.
Not at all.
After 2 or 3 shots, it's going to start melting because of the heat of the bullet coming down the chamber. The resin can't withstand that kind of heat. So they've done testing on these plastic guns before, and they're only good for 3 or 4 shots, and then they start failing.
So you're going to have an $8,000 gun that's going to fail you. What do the components cost to build it?
Yeah, and I don't know about that, but that's another thing. Just the actual printer to manufacture it, it's going to be set you back at least $8,000, and it's going to be good for 3 or 4 shots.
And yeah, that's obviously not going. Because what are you going to pack around 15 guns?
Right.
But now that's not to say that they're not going to come up with some polymer that can withstand it, and that bad guys out there that do have the means, like a cartel that we've talked about quite a bit. Now but it's just like everything else. If the bad guys want something bad enough, they're going to get it, regardless of what is in front of them, because with money, that'll buy you anything. Yeah. Whether it's a 3D printer, but why would you spend the time and the effort to do that when you can go run guns, and we've proven that you don't need a gun to cause mass destruction.
Right. And that thank you I forgot to bring that up. That's another one. People freaking out about these blueprints going online. There's plans on YouTube and all that stuff for making pressure cooker bombs, other homemade explosives. There's stuff, weapons of mass destruction that you can easily find how to make them online. So why are we focusing all this outrage all of a sudden on this one thing that I've just laid out, reasons why it's not exactly cost effective due to cost of entry on this?
Exactly.
When you've got pressure cooker bombs, pipe bombs, what have you, all sorts of explosives.
3 planes with box cutters.
Yeah, there you go. So, there's all this stuff is already available online, and why now we're freaking out about a plastic gun is a little bit hypocritical to me. But
and it's guns in general. I mean, it's just a matter of looking at everything, stepping back, removing yourself from and your emotion from it, and looking at the facts. But again, we go clickbait. We go with the
sensational headlines.
Exactly, the sensation. How now, brown cow? The sensational headline that will grab those clicks or whatever, and you read it in the article, and then of course this is perfect for Twitter. 280 characters, and you've got this short little basic sound bite to push a narrative that you want, rather than and you don't have to include the facts in it, and you get it right in front of everyone's faces. They don't even have to click on it. You give them just enough information in there that they'll take it and they'll run with it.
And then that's what they they rely on is people falling prey to the sensational headlines and running with the headline and not doing their homework and not looking into it, not reading up on things.
And that's what these copywriters, they feed off
yeah.
that. They know what there is going to push things and what isn't. And we look at all of the crazy headlines out there, and that headline may have, in a 10-paragraph article, may have something to do with 1 or 2 sentences. But they know that it's so sensational and they're so greedy that it's going to push the numbers to their site that they're looking for.
Yep.
So, well, that's going to be something I know we'll end up following up on. Here we go with the TSA, number 5. They're considering removing screeners from smaller airports. So we don't want 3D printers, but we're going to take screeners out of these small airports. Guess where the bad guys are going to go?
Yeah, and so this is kind of a 2-part story because I can kind of see the logic behind the first half, but then the second half presents all sorts of logistical nightmares. So the first half of this story is what Will said, is the TSA is considering removing screeners from smaller airports, and they term smaller airports by airports that only have aircraft that seat less than 60 people. So like your small little regional jets, the prop jets, no full-size big commercial airliners. And this equates to about 150 airports would fall under this.
Wow.
And the estimated savings would be $115 million per year if they were to pull TSA out of these small airports. But then the other half of the story that I alluded to that would cause logistical issues is that, say you're flying from some little podunk airport to an international airport and you're going to connect to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So the rules would be that passengers that would connect through a major airport, they would have to be screened there.
Okay.
So, but then that is a logistics issue because then you're going to have to treat it like an international flight coming into customs. You're going to have to funnel all those people off the plane through a separate customs interest to get screened, as opposed to if you connect at any regular airport normally, you would just walk off the plane and walk down the concourse and find your gate. Exactly. But now these people are going to have to be
segregated
off and taken through a customs type entrance and be screened there. So that's going to cause slowdowns for their connecting flights. So it sounds a little clunky to me. I don't know how that's gonna work out very well.
It sounds like we just picked up 150 locations to ship drugs from.
Yeah.
Is what that sounds like to me, because that is going to be a perfect entry point or exit point for anyone that wants to move contraband.
Yeah.
Because they know they're not gonna have, and they don't care if there's 80 people or not on it.
Yeah.
They'll get on a small plane. I don't know if we know if they're gonna have international flights to like Mexico or Canada, but let's say you wanted to move something from Oregon to Idaho or Nevada, something like that. Pretty easy to do it.
Using little small airports.
Exactly. Yep. And so they're talking about removing all, even metal detectors?
Metal detectors and baggage screening. So people and baggage would not be screened. No screening whatsoever.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, that's a little extreme to me. And then, like I said, that presents a big nightmare. If you're going to connect to an international airport afterwards, then you're going to have to go through screening once you get there, so that you're going to have to build in bigger layovers because all those people are going to have to go through quote-unquote customs type stuff once they get into a bigger airport to continue on somewhere else. So
wow, this sounds like a really slippery slope to me. I don't know that I can get behind this because I want to see that security. It gives you a peace of mind, especially considering the things that have occurred. And if somebody wants to bring down a plane of 80 people, that's going to get the same headlines that bringing down a jetliner. You bring down a plane of any sort.
Right.
And all you're doing is making it easier for somebody to bring a gun on any type of illegal contraband.
Right.
I'm not a proponent of making that easier for criminals.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guarantee, again, we've got another one to follow up on. So as we move into the flashback follow-up, sounds like Mr. Kelly has decided to stay on as the Joint Chief of Staff, or the Chief of Staff for the President, and you and I are going to lay some odds in this, I think.
Yeah, so we had talked about this story a few podcasts ago, that there was speculation that he was going to leave. And then word broke several days ago that Trump reached out to him and asked him, basically begging him, please stay on through the end of my term in 2020. And that was followed up the next day by Kelly's people issuing a statement to the press saying that he did agree to stay on through the end of this term. So still, obviously, things could happen. So will he make it to 2020?
Will he make it to let's say January 20th of 2021.
Yeah.
Let's see if he makes it all the way through. What do you think? What are your odds on that?
With as much of a loose cannon as Trump is, I'd lay 50-50 at best right now. I don't.
Yeah. I think that, and not so much that the president is going to do anything. It's that General Kelly's going to be
tired of the garbage.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And who knows what's coming down the pike in terms of large scale issues with any part of the presidency. I mean, because we're nowhere out of the woods on anything that's been happening with all these different allegations with Russia, and they ramped it back up today. Mm-hmm. It's never going to end, and at some point, somebody of his stature I would think, could get a little bit tired of doing that.
Yeah, definitely.
So, well, with the flashback follow-up ending, we're going to jump into Hojo's hot take, and today Hojo does not have a hot take. She has cut a promo for the new Platinum Moms podcast that is probably 100% likely, I'm going to say it, I'm going to put the pressure on myself, is going to drop tomorrow with this episode. So I will have that mixed. Tia and Holly cut that 2 nights ago. They jumped into it, got very excited, and we are incredibly excited about it. And I also have to encourage you guys to go to the website, kineticchaos.com. Check out the long-form blog post that Holly put up today, Thursday, for all those that are watching. If you're listening tomorrow on Friday, go check that out. It's a really, really, really well-written piece from the point of view of a mom, and I think you're going to see a lot more of that kind of stuff come up. And Holly and Tia have just jumped into this head first, and it's really amazing, really awesome, and I'm so excited that they're excited to bring what they have to offer to Kinetic Chaos. So with that, 3, 2, 1, Hojo's hot take. And we are back. 2544, please. Well, it is time for freestyle because it is Thursday and it's time to have some fun.
You betcha.
You have some hot stuff for me, I hope.
I got a couple of them.
You gonna stump me? You gonna bring the fire?
No, I'm gonna do one more list and then a controversial topic.
Oh, I like it.
A fun controversy.
A fun controversial topic. Okay, well, let's hear it.
So my first one is the top 3. We talked about top 3 favorite movies last Thursday.
Yes, indeed.
We're gonna do a little spin on this one.
Okay.
Your top 3 movie sequels.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Okay, well, yeah, give me a second because now
it's hard to digest.
You have opened up the floodgates in my mind because I've seen 2 sequels in the last probably month, and so which are very, very good. So, but I don't want to use. I want to use one of them. But go ahead. Let's hear your. Let's go 3 to 1.
3 to 1.
Yeah. Are you going to give your top 3?
Oh yeah, counting down from 3 to 1.
Go to your third, then go to the second.
Well, do you want to let's alternate?
Yeah, we'll
okay.
alternate.
So number 3 for me is, speaking of 3, Beverly Hills Cop 3.
It has been so long since I've seen that movie.
It's on TV all the time.
Yeah, no, it's right up there with. That is
the Wonderworld theme park one.
Yes,
yeah.
That is. I have to bring that back because all I think about is Axel Foley in the first one in the Ferrari.
Yep.
And when his captain calls him, and oh my goodness, that Eddie Murphy is so talented.
He is. He really is.
He is just unbelievable. So for me, okay. So give me your justification for that?
I like that whole franchise 1, 2, and 3. So I was just trying to think, and I think I like 1 for its originality, but I like 3 more than 2.
Okay.
So that's when I'm thinking sequels. That's the first thing that jumped out to me was Beverly Hills Cop 3.
There's so many sequels. You have just stumped the
I know.
out of me here.
That was kind of a hard one. That was my third one I had to pick. The first 2 came easy for me. Numbers 1 and 2.
So I'll bet you as I give mine, I'm going to change.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I have second thoughts.
Yeah, because this is coming off the top of my head. So my number 3, I am going to give a nod to Deadpool 2. I am a huge Deadpool fan. Deadpool, the first one was amazing. It broke barriers. It was, besides the fourth wall, it was what I love in villains. But he's a villain, but he's a good guy when he does it. And so, because he's a very, very conflicted, downright almost bad person. But is in movies they change things, and he changes and becomes good and finds the good in kids and all that stuff. So you got to watch the movies. But Deadpool 2, I will put up there with Deadpool 1 in terms of quality of filmmaking. It was amazing, and usually you can't say that because whether you're looking at the Transformers franchise, any of those, I've got my number one. It just came into my head, but it just so many times it's just a cash grab.
Yeah, exactly.
On the sequel, and they really took the time. In fact, they even changed directors, I believe, because Reynolds and the director weren't seeing eye to eye, and that was the original director of Deadpool. Why do I keep saying Tedpool? Anyway, but no. So Deadpool 2 would be my number 3. Here we go. We're going to really confuse people with the numbers. What's your number 2?
Number 2 is a groundbreaking one in terms of like its CGI technology back at the time it came out.
Start with an M?
No.
Okay.
No. That would be Terminator 2.
There you go. Oh, I love that. That's
the T-1000, the little liquid metal dude, all the CGI that went into that was cutting edge. That was heavy duty stuff, and that was I don't know. I almost like Part 2 better than the original.
Really?
Once you get into the 3 and the 4, all the weird stuff after that, I'm not into that. But 1 and 2 are outstanding, and I put 2 right there with 1. I think.
I would put 2 over 1.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
I don't have a problem with that. Yeah.
No, I would put, because I actually saw 2 before I saw 1, and so I didn't even know what the backstory for the Terminator was. But it was so groundbreaking when it came, because it came out in what, 93?
It was early 90s. I think. 90,
maybe even a little bit earlier than that.
Yeah,
something like that. But that was to watch the liquid crystal. Who was it? What's his name? Robert something.
Patrick.
Yeah, exactly.
Robert Patrick. Yeah.
And so, but to watch him, especially when he's in the helicopter.
Yeah.
And and that, I think that's probably where they got the idea for the Smith in the Matrix.
Matrix, exactly right. Yep.
Is from that, because when he changes there in the, it wasn't in the helicopter.
Yes.
Yeah, that was great.
Yep.
So, boy howdy, my number 2, because you can't touch my number 1. No one can. Number 2 for me, boy howdy. I would probably say, because there were so many good, it's probably going to be, man alive. There are so many out there. I keep going back to Marvel movies because so many of those but there's 19 of them now, so they're all sequels.
Right.
But Avengers 2 is really good. That's all that is flooding my head, and the number 1 is so far and above everyone else that, boy howdy. Yeah, because then I hit Home Alone. I don't know why I just thought of Home Alone. Home Alone 2. What a ridiculous film. No, I'll go with Avengers 2. I really liked what they did with that, but it's going to come to me. I'm going to use that one for right now because my number 1 is one of the best films ever. So,
yeah.
What's your number 1?
Number 1 is along the same lines of what I said with Terminator 2, that being kind of the groundbreaking, visionary type of movie for its time. And it ties into my number 1 of last week, which is Back to the Future 2.
There you go.
Going into the future with the flying cars and the hoverboard, all that kind of stuff was really cool.
When that hoverboard came out, that was the first time that I've had some sort of envy towards a product in a movie. Between the shoes
the
and the hoverboard. Shoes, when he put his foot in those shoes and went... and that's right around when the pumps were coming out and all that from Reebok, and Penny Hardaway was up there at the slam dunk contest pumping them up and everything. That was awesome, and the hoverboard was sick too.
Yeah.
I will say that my biggest crush ever though in a movie was in the Matrix when he's got that flip phone that goes and the bottom pops out. That was the coolest thing ever, because we had the Nokias and everything back then. We'd never seen anything as cool as that, way before any iPhones or anything like that. So for him, when they had to call in and talk to Tank and Dozer, they had that phone. Morpheus did, and oh my goodness, that was like I just about fell out of my chair. That whole movie blew my mind. But that was an awesome part. Well, for me, number 1, Empire Strikes Back, and it don't even bring any other film to my face with that, because Star Wars was awesome, but the fatal flaw in Star Wars is the slow scenes. I just can't handle that. And The Empire Strikes Back there was so much Vader, there was so much awesome, and seeing it, because I like bad guys. Vader is my number one bad guy of all time, although Thanos is now, he's a close second. But Vader is, you just can't, there's no better villain in movie history, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, I agree. Yeah, the classic villain.
He is, and he was groundbreaking for what he was, and he was good in Star Wars. But Empire Strikes Back, to watch them go after the rebels, and as I got older, I began to understand because when you're, what the hell was I? That was 1983, so I was 6 or 7 when it came out. I didn't understand what any of the franchise was until I got older, but in Star Wars, I wasn't big in the old Tatooine, being on the desert planet and walking around and stuff. But Empire Strikes Back was just hammering you with the awesome action. So I would say that would be my number one sequel. But you're gonna. Now I've got an earworm because I want to think of that. Do you have any honorable?
I was just going to say honorable mention. There was one I thought of after I wrote.
Steve with the Die Hard 3.
Oh, 3. I was going to go 2. That's exactly what I was just going to say. Was going to be Die Hard 2. 3 was good, but I think, I don't know. I think 2 was a little better than 3. But yeah, the Die Hard sequel or Die Hard franchise is good stuff. That was Die Hard 2 was my honorable mention. So.
Which one had Samuel L. Jackson?
That's 3.
That's 3?
Yeah.
Okay, Steve, good call on that one, because Sam Jackson was awesome in that film. And I haven't seen Die Hard, Die Harder, or whatever the hell the name of the 14th one that just came out
after
with.
3, it kind of falls off.
How many are there? There's a bunch of them.
5 or 6, maybe.
Is there really?
I think at least 5, maybe 6.
And, I've got to say, they have done a good job with the Die Hard films. I really think that they're great films, and I think that they've done. You're never going to beat the first one.
Oh yeah,
that is right up there. Alan
Best
Rickman
Christmas
was
movie of all time.
Oh, here we go. T is going to flame us so hard in 3, 2, 1. I'm just waiting for the comment if she's watching. That's no. I've got to say, maybe it's going to go 1 and then 3 for me in terms of ranking the Die Hard
Interesting.
films.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what I'm for. So for me, I'm going to do a top 3 for you as well.
All right.
But this is based on a season. What are your 3 favorite summertime meals?
Ooh, summertime meals.
Summertime meals. 3 favorite summertime meals.
Are we talking like main course?
No. I'm talking about like if you can name. Okay, let's just do this. We'll do entree side.
Entree side. Okay.
Yep. You want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, number 3 for me is going to be barbecued chicken and tater salad. And I'm going to throw in corn on the cob with that as well. That is one of my absolute favorites. I've got to give myself a shameless plug for my barbecue sauce. You do chicken thighs, bone-in chicken thighs with my rub on them, smoke them 30 minutes, fire it up, let the fire go crazy, finish them off, and then you finish them with my barbecue sauce, either the berry or the original. And then my grandmother and my wife make phenomenal. Well, my grandmother did, and my wife does make phenomenal potato salad and fresh corn on the cob from BZ Farms out there in Vancouver. Dang hard to beat. It may be
on the
number
grill
2.
with the corn.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, well.
Yeah.
I like that. Kim does this. We got this from some Islander friends of ours. She makes this, and it may sound disgusting to some people, but it is mayonnaise with garlic and some other stuff in it. I actually don't eat it that often on because I like corn with just a little bit of butter, salt, and pepper.
Yep.
That's how. In fact, a lot of times, if it's from BZ, because their corn is so sweet, I'll just kill it with nothing on it. Yeah, it's so good.
And like the Mexican street corn's good too. That chili powder and lime on it and stuff.
That I can. And they roast it.
Yes.
Like just got a hair of a char on it.
Yep.
Oh, Cody with the Temple of Doom.
Oh yeah. Oh man. Wow. Forgot about the Indiana Jones.
Yeah, you
franchise.
Can't forget about that. Everyone. Hey. Right here, everyone, keep bringing the awesome ideas there. Maybe we'll put a poll up about that tomorrow.
Nice. Yep.
We'll see what's up with that. What's your number 3
I would stick with the barbecue theme. I'd go pulled pork and mac and cheese.
Oh, okay.
I like that combo. Mm-hmm. You get like the sharpness of the cheddar and stuff with the mac and cheese, and you get like especially like a sweeter barbecue sauce with the pulled pork. I like the sweet and salty juxtaposition.
Yes, indeed. That is a winner. And Kim just told me that there's Parmesan cheese in that corn in the mayonnaise thing. Yeah. It's garlic, Parmesan, and mayo, and it's pretty darn good. It makes it very rich though.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Which is good if you have a good sweet corn balance. I don't mean to steal the.
No. I was to say, Kim, if you want to make some extra tater salad and send it with Will next time, I'm all for that.
She would love to. Actually, I'm getting a hankering for that too.
Yeah, I love potato salad.
So now, are you going coleslaw on that pulled pork though?
Yeah. If we want to throw that on there, I'm good with that.
Is it something that you go to? You have to have it?
No, it's not. It's not mandatory, but I like it.
Really?
But I can. I mean, if it's not there, I'm not going to turn it down. So.
Yeah, and I've done this to myself. I almost have to have coleslaw on it because I love the crunch.
Yeah.
It's all about the crunch because you have the sweet in the sauce, the salty in the pork. The bun is just a vehicle again that we talk about, but getting that crunch in there because I love that the contrast of textures there when it comes to the food, and because I put a pretty hefty amount of coleslaw on it, and but it's like me. I can't eat a hamburger without lettuce and veggies and rabbit food on it. It does not taste good to me without it. I guess back in the old days when I used to eat at McDonald's, I would have a quarter pounder every once in a while, but I still would rather have a Big Mac or something with some kind of greenery and a crunch in it. So my number 2, I'm going to take a cue from Steve. He wrote it in here.
Oh.
My number 2 would be ribs.
Oh, yeah, good call.
I love ribs. I don't necessarily have a go-to side for ribs because a lot of times I have chicken and potato salad with it because it's a go-to. But I love ribs. I don't cook them very often, and when I eat them, when I cook them, I don't eat too many. But it is something that I will crave. And when I hit those ribs and smoke them for 4 hours, no par cooking. Anyone out there, if you par cook your ribs, you're doing it wrong. Please believe that. Oh, look, Kim said that she can do that.
Oh, tater salad?
Tater salad.
Thank you. Yeah.
But no, ribs is an absolute go-to for me in the summertime. And oh, man, my mouth is watering. I don't know if you can hear it. But it's
sounds like a waterfall over here.
Yeah, exactly. What's your number 2?
Number 2, I'm going to go steak. And we talked about steak cuts last time. So any old steak, like New York, not prime rib, hello.
No, you said filet last.
Filet, any one of those, but more importantly, the side. What I like to do sidewise with steak is an onion, a whole onion. Yeah. Quarter it, but not all the way through. Okay. So you cut it like
a bloomin' onion.
Well, yeah, kind of, but it's not fried. But you cut it like 3/4 of the way through and kind of open it and fan it out like you would. And then stick pads of butter down in between the layers.
Really? Now, this is something new. I've never heard of this.
It turns out awesome. So you maybe like 4 pads of butter, so one for each of the quarters, and kind of shove them like halfway in the layers. Okay. And then hit it with like a Montreal seasoning or a nature seasoning or something like that with a blend of seasonings. Hit it pretty liberally with that all over the top of it, and then close it back up. And then wrap it in foil so it steams. Yeah. And slap on the grill. Yep. Just put it on. It probably takes about 45 minutes just on low heat on the grill. Just let it sit there and simmer. That way the onion gets all nice and soft and squishy.
Is it kind of like a sautéed onion?
Yeah, it's like a caramel. And on the bottom it's caramelized because that's where the heat's at. So it starts to caramelize on the bottom of the onion. It gets really dark brown.
Really?
But everything else is like a sautéed onion. Yeah, I mean, you can. It falls apart. So like when you open it back up, it's just all like a big pile of sautéed onions in there, basically, is what it is.
That is, honey, we're gonna have to give that a shot.
Yeah, it's really good.
That sounds really, and I've never heard of that.
Yep,
that's incredible.
Yeah, I've been doing that for a long time.
Really, where did you learn that?
I believe it was from a family member, if I remember correctly. My dad may have to. My parents can correct me, but I believe it's from a family friend from when I was a kid. Because my parents used to do it when I was a kid, and I think they got it from this other person. But yeah, I've been doing it ever since I was, as a kid we did it, and then I started doing it once I moved out on my own on the grill. Just nice and simple.
I'm intrigued by this.
Yeah. So obviously you peel the skin off the onion and you lop off both ends, the blossom end and the root end and stuff like that. But then just cut it into quarters, but not all the way through, so it doesn't fall apart on you because you want to be able to close it back up. But yeah, shove some butter down there and then hit it with either Montreal or like a nature seasoning.
Yeah, we're gonna do that for sure because that sounds awesome.
Yep.
Well, for me, my number one, I'm going to take your number two, but I'm going to add something to it, and that would be steak as well. I know a cut, and I know what's going to go with it. I want a bone-in ribeye, like we said last week, 16 ounces if I can, and I want to have 8 to 10 sea scallops.
I knew you were going there. Yeah, that's good stuff.
I want those. I want them tossed in a little lime juice, salt and pepper, and then thrown on the grill. And when I say 8 to 10, what that means is that there's 8 to 10 scallops per pound. And so, and then with that, the side that goes with it is a baked potato with all the fixings. Absolutely one of my favorite go-to meals. We haven't done it actually in a while, so honey, put that on the menu because we're going to do that here pretty soon. I think actually we did it a few weeks ago. And when I do steak, you don't smoke steak. You grill it, high heat, preferably 500 degrees over charcoal.
For a short duration.
Oh, yeah. I'm talking, well, a good friend Pat Gard taught me many years ago that you only turn your steak one time because you don't want to confuse the juices. We got to make a t-shirt of that one. Don't confuse the juices. But you turn it one time, it goes 5 and 4, maybe 6 and 5, depending on your heat. You want to put your hand over the. You guys can look this up, and I'll see if I can remember to put it. It's a kind of a key on how to judge temperature at your grill based upon how long you can hold your hand over it, and it's like 1 second, I believe, is 400, something like that. But there is a rule of thumb for that. So you put your hand there, load that grill up with as much charcoal as you can. You don't want it going to the top or anything, and make sure you keep that lid on it. Turn the damper down so that you're not getting the flame. Yeah, that's what's so important. But keep that bad boy turned down. Wham! One time over. Take it off. Let it rest 5 to 8 minutes, depending on how thick it is. That's the other thing is I'm looking for at least an inch thick, preferably an inch and a half. I'd rather have a smaller circumference with a thicker cut, but that depends on the cow and how big of a cow it comes off. So those are my top three, and your top. You need to go with your number one.
Yeah.
Numero uno.
So number one for me would be just good old Americana as a burger.
Knew you were gonna
and
say
then
that.
For the side, I like Tia does these potato wedges in the oven.
Okay.
So you cut a potato lengthwise, like into eighths, so you get the little potato wedges, and then just hit them with olive oil and onion soup mix.
Okay. Yeah, that's an old.
Toss them together. Yep. And then just bake them. Roast them off in the oven.
My mom does that. I don't know if she uses onion mix or not, but she does something very familiar, or very close to that as well. Those are very good. And
then honorable mention to the side with that is probably my favorite side, even more than potato salad, is coleslaw. So a nice pile of ice cold coleslaw to go with your burger on the side with some little oven fries like that. Oh yeah,
I like the sound of that. I will say that my honorable mention for a side is actually something that we actually make for a meal, not frequently but relatively often, and more often in the summertime, and it's this noodle. Actually, it's on my I can post the link to the recipe on the website because I have it up on the food blog, and it's this noodle salad with salami, a bunch of vegetables like snap peas and broccoli and all kinds of good stuff like that. And then Kim isn't a big fan of this, so if I'm going to make it just for myself, I saute shrimp and I put that in there, and then you hit it with this really good Italian dressing. But you can only get the Italian dressing, I believe, at either through the mail or at what's that? Nature's on. Well, what the hell is the name? Whole Foods.
Oh yeah.
I think it's Whole or whatever the hell.
I.e. Amazon.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where you have to have that. You can use like the Bernsteins or Newman's Own or whatever, but this one particular one, and Kim can tell me which one it is, but it is so good and it's so refreshing. I use gluten-free noodles in it, and all of the good crunchy. Because the way to go is take the noodles right out of the pot when you boil them, mm-hmm. and then you drain them off, put them in the bowl, throw all the stuff in it, and you put cheese in it, and the cheese, when it hits those noodles, melts just a hair, and then I put it in the fridge, so everything can stay crispy. Oh my goodness. And then, of course, just like potato salad, it's way better the next day. Always better the next day because you let those flavors mingle.
Coleslaw's like that too.
Oh, coleslaw, potato salad, any of that stuff, when you let those, especially something that has like garlic and things like that in it, it really comes to the forefront, and the flavor is just amazing. So, what's your controversial fun one?
It's a little one that we banter back and forth that I hear all the time. Is auto racing a sport?
Oh, absolutely.
Like NASCAR,
yes,
kind of thing.
Poker is not a sport.
Yeah,
auto racing, like motorcycle racing,
just for the endurance factor.
Exactly.
I would argue that. I mean, it's not like you're out there, running up and down the field or anything like that, like you would with most other sports, but just the endurance factor of the vibration of the car going around the track for 3 hours you're out there cruising around,
pissing on yourself,
and
so you're really pissed off,
and your muscles having to be tense the whole time,
gripping
the wheel
left. You have to have incredibly strong neck muscles to the left in order to. I mean, really, is that what they do when they get out of the car? Is they just look right for a few hours to try to make
need to hit the chiropractor and get everything back
exactly. I mean,
place.
the Hans device. I wonder if that just helps them, like keeps their neck. I'm sure they
force
have to
them
look
left
more than one way, but no, absolutely. I think those guys are actually probably better athletes than most baseball players. Certainly, the baseball players are 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe not the steroid junkies that we have now, but that play for the Cardinals. But
wow.
No, but baseball players are good athletes. They just don't have to use their athleticism as often as most other sports.
Right.
Whereas we have, things like, football, obviously, you run for 5 seconds and then it's over. In baseball, you do the same thing if you have to run after a ball towards the base. But when you're just the mental side of racing. I mean, you and I have talked about it here when we record a podcast. And in fact, I was talking to somebody about it yesterday. When we're done with this, if your dad came out here and said, "Hey, what'd you guys talk about?"
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I hope we got it on camera. I'm watching the feed right now.
Yeah, that's going to show up on camera.
Yeah.
Well, almost took one off the dome.
Took a ball to the dome. That would have been awesome. No, Tia, don't even. Yes, they're sitting in a car, but they are. So back to what I was saying. When we are recording and we're done, if your dad came out here and asked us what we talked about, you and I just stone-face him like we have no idea.
Yeah.
Because for some reason...
The decompression afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. We're so amped up after we're done recording, it just flies out of our brain. In fact, Holly will ask us, "Hey, what'd you guys talk about?" to write the show notes, and you and I will like,
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we had a good news story.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, she can see the notes for the rundown on the show, but we really do. And so to magnify that by 3 hours with the stress of driving 190 miles an hour, all these other cars around you, I mean, I get pissed off just driving down Highway 14.
Right.
I can't imagine what it's like when you do 3 times as fast and you have people that they're actually good drivers, though. So I'll give them that. It's probably a little less stressful. But I've got to say they absolutely are supreme athletes.
Oh, yeah.
You see the amount of sweat, and I can only imagine what it would be like to do something like Le Mans, the 24-hour Le Mans.
Yeah, that stuff's brutal, like the relay kind of stuff.
Yeah, but it would be a kick in the pants.
Yeah.
That would be so much fun. Oh boy, it's right there. Did you see it?
Yeah.
Good. We got one right back here. So
get in your way.
No
you're
worries.
Good to go. You're good to go. Let's see. So I am going to go with for my well. Do you have any more to say on that?
No. It was just kind of a spur of the moment thing I came up with last night. I wanted to throw that out there, see if we disagreed on that one. But.
No, I think we both agree. I'm not. I enjoy watching. I'll probably watch Daytona every year. That's about the extent of my auto racing watching.
Yeah.
But actually, I was just reading an article on how NASCAR has seen this a pretty significant dip in its viewership.
Yeah, because it was a big deal a few years ago, man. It was
monstrous.
ratings gold.
Yeah, absolutely. You couldn't miss. I mean, everything was sold out all the time and everything. So, well, I'm going to ask you if I'm going to be semi-controversial as well, because we have differing thoughts on fruits of summer.
Okay.
And I will ask you, are you un-American if you don't like watermelon? I think you are, because it's red, it's got white in it, there's no blue, I hope, but it's
got green, that's Italy. Red, white, and green, that's the Italian flag, so you're way off base.
Hell no. watermelon is the quintessential fruit of the summer. Absolutely, bar none. Everyone that's watching, please tune in, or please chime in.
Tia will be on there shortly.
I hope you can agree with me that West needs to be sent to...
Give me the berries, the strawberries, blueberries,
berries are
raspberries.
amazing.
Give me the berries, but not the melons. No.
Like melons in general?
Pretty much honeydew. Yeah, like honeydew cantaloupe kind of stuff. Take it or leave it.
What the hell is wrong with you, Rory? Who did you raise?
Yeah, they're melon fans, not me. It didn't pass down to this generation.
And see, actually, you like the least likable melon of all melons, and that's honeydew.
Honeydew, yeah.
You and I are married. We get enough honeydews as it is.
Well, we're not married to each other.
No,
that's okay. Just wanted
we're not
to clarify.
Chuck and Larry here.
Yeah.
But no, if I have 2 bites of honeydew all year, I've had my fill.
Oh yeah, me too. That's I'm saying. So I can like handle honeydew if I need to, but that's not something I would seek out.
And so
melons in general, like I said, cantaloupe, honeydew, muskmelon. If you want to go that.
Muskmelon.
That's the technical. That's the technical term for the American cantaloupe.
Really?
Because true cantaloupe is not grown here. It's European. The stuff that is grown here that we call cantaloupe is technically muskmelon. It's a different species.
Musk, like M-U-S-K?
Yep, muskmelon.
Well,
it's kind of like,
that's something
we call it champagne, but for it to be champagne, it has to be in France.
Yeah.
Everything else is sparkling wine. Same thing with cantaloupe.
Or
True
whiskey.
cantaloupe, yeah. True cantaloupe is not grown is not native to the U.S. It's European. So the stuff we grow here is a variation of that, and it's technically called muskmelon.
So 60% of the time it's melon all the time.
That's right.
Sorry,
little food factoid for you. Even though I don't like melon, I know that. So
Tia just quoted you. She says, quoting Wes, "It doesn't do anything for me."
Yes,
that's awesome.
That's my go-to line.
No, yep. I've got to say, we had watermelon last night with dinner, and we had actually a pretty all-American summertime dinner. We had these really good, they were pineapple and bacon Adele sausages from Costco.
Oh, yeah. Yep, those are good.
Really good.
Yes.
On the grill. I'm going to own up to something, though. I burnt the shit out of them. The first batch, luckily we went to Costco and got the 15-pack.
Oh, the skin split and you have a flare-up or something? Or
no, I had it at like sun heat. That's how much charcoal I put in it, like I was cooking a steak. And
the surface of the sun.
Exactly. And so I put the cover on, walked away, walked back a minute and a half, turn them over, completely black. I'm like, well, Bronx, it looks like you got for dinner. So he got 5 sausages for dinner. He was happy. Well, I let him cool off for about 30 seconds, and then I put him in his bowl, and he was all dancing around and excited until he got his nose near it. He was like, whoa. You don't see a dog
a little toasty.
Yeah, step back and do a double take from meat very often, but yeah, he let him cool down for a few minutes because evidently when you pull something off the surface of the sun, it's not edible. So that was actually pretty funny. But no, it was that, and then we went with we were gonna have coleslaw, but the coleslaw we tasted the sauce that comes with it, and it was garbage, so we threw it out, and we had watermelon with it as well. Amazing watermelon. We had cantaloupe the night before that because we love melons because we're American. And the cantaloupe was actually very disappointing. It was rock hard, and we'd actually had it for a while.
That's my beef. It seems so often it's hard to find a legit melon, so that's why.
You want to know how to find one? We missed on this
the whole knocking.
No. On a musk melon / cantaloupe, you look at the end. Sorry. You look at the end of it, you want to see an indentation, a nice big indentation in the bottom of it, and you want to smell it. Stick it up to your nose, and it needs to smell like a cantaloupe. If it doesn't, then it's not. And the way you check for a good watermelon, first you pick it up and want to feel how heavy it is, see how much water it has. But the big thing is that you look for bee stings on it. So a lot of times people will think that on a watermelon that it's like a scuff mark or something.
Yeah.
But bees actually will try to sting it, or they'll hit it with their stinger, and it will make these little indentions on the end of it. So you look for one that has a lot of bee stings on it, and then you know that it's sweet. That's not to say that we know that it's not, because you get those melons that are mealy sometimes.
Right.
But by and large, you're not going to have that if it's got a bunch of bee stings on it. So that's what that's my quick tip of the day there. Do we have a holy shit factor?
No, we don't. Today? No.
Well, with that, we're almost at 60 minutes, so we're probably going to wrap it on up. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, I just wanted to do a little crunch.
Oh yeah, no, I have crunch time as well.
Crunch? Oh yeah, that one's okay.
Yeah, go ahead. So, crunch time.
Just wanted to circle back and go with our number 4 hot sheet item, which was the whole hysteria around the 3D blueprint gun. Is that just do yourself a favor and be a responsible person and research articles. Mm-hmm. Don't go by headlines and then pass on the headlines. And I see so much of this on Facebook, people just sharing the sensationalized headlines.
Exactly.
And people, like we talked about previously, people just run with that. Nobody wants to do the work to actually look into things and do their own work. They want to have stuff spoon-fed to them, and what is spoon-fed to them, they take as the gospel and run with it. And you're doing everybody a disservice. You're doing yourself a disservice because you're just lying to yourself if you're believing all the headlines. And you're doing other people a disservice by passing this misinformation on. So that's my crunch time, my little rant, is that just own these things and do your own research. You know, be a good steward.
Exactly.
Of information.
And don't rely on the that new hashtag, which is, what is it? Too lazy, read later, or whatever the hell it is. I can't remember.
Oh no, I don't know about that.
TLDR or something like that. Too lazy. Didn't read.
Okay.
And I think that's what it is.
Okay.
And so it's basically people are asking people for cliff notes.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? If you get cliff notes, it's going through the prism of the person giving the cliff notes, not your prism. And that is going to affect the way that your opinion is formed. Go read it. And in fact, I'm seeing now on some of these links that are tweeted and things like that, they're actually telling you how long it should take you to read the article.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I think the New York Times does that. Maybe The Economist as well. But you'll see that how long it will take you to read. So if it's a long form, 3,000 word essay, it's going to take you some time, but at least it tells you. And if you need extra time later, you can bookmark it and come back. So, my crunch time, and I know I harp on this quite a bit, but it's just negativity in general. The more we have all of these allegations with Russia, we have just it doesn't matter if it has to do with the president, and if it has to do with Fords, Chevys, whatever it is. Everything gets reduced down to how we can flame somebody, how we can get the Twitter mob, just the mob mentality in general, whipped up. And it goes along with exactly what you're saying. People aren't taking the time to inform themselves. They're just jumping on a bandwagon.
Yep.
If you're going to jump on a bandwagon, jump on the Yankees bandwagon. If it's something political, if it's something to do with anything, it doesn't matter what it is. Research it yourself and try to find a positive angle if you're going to give your opinion. It doesn't mean you have to agree with it. It doesn't mean you have to like the person, anything like that. But negativity, it breeds negativity, number one. And number two is it doesn't make you feel good.
Right.
When all you're doing is constantly bashing things, inside you're not healthy. It's not good for your brain to be that negative all the time. So take the time, read it, form an opinion on it, and even if your opinion of the subject is negative, find some kind of ray of sunshine in it, or at least when you do disagree with it, don't bash it.
Right.
Just present your facts, your opinion, and you don't have to put someone else down to prop yourself up. Exactly. That's the most important thing. So
kind of like the lady at the Canvas Days Parade.
Exactly.
Yes.
She was not. Yeah, exactly. She could not find a ray of sunshine in an F-250 lifted diesel. If she can't find a ray of sunshine in that, I don't know what we can. Looks like the broadcast just dropped. So, with that, we will bid you adieu from Kinetic Chaos Podcast number 36. I am your host, Will.
And I'm Wes.
And you got anything else?
No, I'm done.
Okay, well, thank you very much for listening. We gone. There we go.
What happened?
I think it capped it at an hour. That's
really?
the second time it's done that. And it happens right at an hour.